I'm a boy, but my body's all wrong, and how am I supposed to tell my parents?
I'll help you in whatever way I can, but you need to know that your life is in your hands.
You can't watch that without using the word grooming.
I did it because I'm a boy.
Every time he thinks he can't come to you, he's going to push himself further and further until one day you'll wake up and he's gone.
He has this power to then start changing the pronouns of your child.
No better than to misgender a trans student. And if I find out you've done it again, it won't be just a warning you get from me.
Do you think it's easy going through this kind of change? Being told I can't use the ladies' bathroom?
It's hard to have any sympathy for that character, the male. I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
It'll be okay. Just take it one step at a time.
I don't know what the first step is. I'm a boy, but my body's all wrong, and how am I supposed to tell my parents?
I'll help you in whatever way I can. But you need to know that your life is in your hands. So stop bunking off school. And then, and only then, you can start thinking about how and when you can tell your mum. Rose, you can't move on with your life until you've told the people you love who you truly are. That is, if you're sure.
I'm so sure.
Well, then once you've taken the first step, you can start actually being who you truly are. It's the best feeling in the world.
Wow.
Right.
Is this a popular show?
Yeah, I mean, it's a soap that's been running for years and years, so it will be popular with a certain portion of people.
Yeah, super creepy. I mean, just yeah. I mean, you can't watch that without using the word grooming. You know, that's
I know.
just it's so creepy. At first, I thought it was, I couldn't see it very well because it's small on my screen, so I thought it was the kid's mom. But then you realize, oh, this is another, man that's trying to look like a woman and is indoctrinating this child. And yeah, it's very cult-like. I mean, just like cult, creep, groomer. Those are the words that pop in my head.
Yeah, and I think what's funny is the music in it is really intense and chilling. So
yeah,
if someone told me that this is actually a show in 20 years kind of exposing the trans, like about the trans scandal, and this is an actual groomer, then it would still work because the music is,
Yeah, totally. For context, yeah. That's insane.
And the kind of the male in the clip, he's relatively young. I mean, it's like in his 20s, and I sort of know people that know him because I used to be in the musical theater industry, and that's the background he comes from. But, obviously this is totally wrong. But then I can also see, I don't know him personally, so I can't pretend to understand the journey, but kind of the grooming process as well for him in terms of like, first identifying as non-binary, and right now in that industry, which I talk about a bit in the theater world, trans is just absolute God, as in everyone. It's very totalitarian how you talk about it, and it's seen very, very positively. Everyone has to have pronouns in there when you open up a program of a musical. It's very dogmatic, so I can also see that has happened for him, really. But I mean, it's going to be very embarrassing one day if he regrets this, and then there's these, they've taken part in this TV show.
Right. Yeah, it kind of has a life of its own, because this stuff is so grotesque in a way and cringeworthy and over the top that, yeah, it's hard. I mean, sometimes the only appropriate response is like, oh no, it's the complete denial, but it's there. There's video evidence of it.
Why don't you just go? Do you not think I regret picking you up from that stupid meeting? I know I made an awful mistake, okay?
You didn't just make a mistake, Diane. You committed a crime and you dragged me into it too.
What did you do? Are you gonna go to prison?
No, of course not, love.
It's just a silly row. Why are you home so early?
Are you in trouble?
No, I just...
Rose, what is it? Wait, is this because we didn't talk yesterday?
No.
Yeah. Who did this to you?
No one.
Hey, you being bullied? Because if you are, I'll be down at school tomorrow and I'll tell them.
I did it myself. What? I did it because I'm a boy.
My first thought is they should have cut her hair shorter to sell the story. But,
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it was just a little strange. I'm just sort of curious what the parents' reaction after that would be. But it was interesting to see, you know, in the acting, they were just both like, "What are you talking about?" Which I think is a pretty appropriate reaction. But I assume, given the other clip, that this is something that the parents have to learn to accept in the show, and you know, I don't know how it plays out, but it's just the fact that people can make shows like this as if this is a real phenomenon and not. I mean, it's just kind of mind blowing. You know, boys can become girls and vice versa. I mean, it's just so absurd.
Yeah. Well, you were wondering what happens next, so
Right
let's have a
on.
look.
You're the first. Please take a seat, Miss Hutchinson.
I go by Ro now.
I'm curious. Why not Robert? Or Bob?
Just like Ro.
Forgive the irony, but it's not a real boy's name, though, is it? What do your parents think of it?
I mean, my dad's okay with it.
But your mum isn't. I know she's very keen that you don't make any rash decisions, so let's just stick with Rose for now, shall we? While all this settles down.
But Ro is who I am.
I understand that's what you're thinking right now, but what happens when you change your mind? Some people go so far down this path that they can't turn back, and all because they don't know who they are.
I know who I am. Nothing's gonna change my mind about that.
It sort of seems like the teacher is taking a sane approach to say, hey, you know, let's slow down and think about this. But the theme that keeps coming up is that, you know, these children know who they are. And that was even what the creepy guy in the first clip was saying, like, are you sure? Do you really know who you are? And you don't need to know who you are at however old that girl is, 13 or whatever. I mean, other than the fact that you are a girl. But this emphasis they place that on like knowing their true selves. I mean, that's something that's constantly evolving, and it never involves being the opposite sex.
Yeah.
It's just
that's, I
obviously
mean,
impossible.
that's one of the things that isn't, you know, it's not like, oh, well, when you're older, you know, you may be right. You may actually be a boy. It's just that thing is never possible. So you can't compare it to things like, you know, that argument about sort of, oh, kids can't smoke, they can't drink. You know, I get that. But then at the same time, adults can smoke and drink and still live in reality, but adults cannot become the other sex still.
Right. Yep.
And I think what's interesting too is, we might see him again in the next clip, but the teacher is portrayed as this really heartless, creepy, stern. Just, I mean, he gives off kind of predator vibes, and he's supposed to be like the kind of stereotypical transphobic cis white man, you know.
I thought it was totally reasonable.
No, I do. It's just I agree. It's just more his demeanor comes across as really, really cold. And I think they've done that purposefully to try and say, like,
Sure.
this is what a transphobe is like.
Look, Rose is fine.
Oh, because you used to up here?
Can you just give us a minute, please?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's just Rose asked me to come up another word.
Yeah, maybe this is all your fault, eh? Putting all this nonsense in our little girl's head.
Excuse me, what?
You heard? Going on and on about your stories, getting her all confused.
Are you being serious?
Do you know what? It's always got to be someone else's fault.
It's no one's fault, and it's not like there's anything wrong with Rose anyway.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
Because I'll tell you one thing. If you keep on like this, you'll push him away.
Her! Look, my little girl is the same little girl that she's always been.
Well, he has told you that he isn't. Can you even try and respect that? Try and get his pronouns right?
You know what? This is ridiculous.
Oh, so this is what you want? To lose your kid?
Look, we don't need you meddling in our little girl's life, all right?
I am trying to help him because I know what a head wreck all this can be. And if his parents aren't going to step up, then...
How dare you?
Stop it, the both of you. This isn't helping anyone.
Yeah, but I know what will. For you to go. I want you out of here today.
Like, this isn't helping anyone.
I'm sorry, but I've got a family to think about. And Rose wouldn't need me talking about gender if you weren't here.
Have you even tried talking to him? Because I have. And he's been having these feelings for years. Just too pig-headed to ever listen.
Look, what if we are kicking out the one person who can actually talk to Rose? Like, there's going to be tons of questions. Like, do you know what you're going to say? Because I don't.
Only any kid that doesn't question their identity, and that's all this is.
Well, he's told you he's a boy. Can you not just put your own feelings aside and think about your kid for once?
That's enough. Go on. Here you go.
You're trying to push him away. Because every time he thinks he can't come to you, he's going to push himself further and further until one day you'll wake up and he's gone.
See, this is what she's been doing. Pushing her own agenda, egging Rose on, turning a molehill into a Kilimanjaro-sized mountain.
Do you really think this is what I want for Rose? That I would push this life onto any kid, where you're constantly rejected and isolated?
We don't have a clue who you are, not really.
Yeah, that's interesting. It sort of comes full circle. I don't know if that's chronological or not, but the dad was right that trans woman, what was pushing their own agenda on the girl. And that's pretty clear in the first clip.
Yeah.
And this stuff is it's so surreal because it's, if you just replace the idea that, people can change sex and become boys when they're girls with just really anything else, as some people have done with satire of like, oh, this kid really knows that they're, a pirate or an astronaut or a tree or something. I mean, it really is just that ridiculous. You could just replace all the words with the right, use all the words in a different context, and you would just see it, just how absurd it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just that now, because of the ideology, someone like him, he has this power to then start changing the pronouns of your child, and there's nothing you can do about it, really.
Right.
It's very much a type of grooming, I feel. But yeah, you will see here that I think it's in like this scene, the parents do come round to the idea, of course.
What do you want?
Do you call this service?
You should know better than to misgender a trans student. Ro can wear whatever uniform he likes.
Baseball caps aren't allowed for any student.
I know it was deliberate. And if I find out you've done it again, it won't be just a warning you kept from me. Understand?
Hey, Carter. Everything all right?
He's been upsetting Ro, calling him a girl.
It was a simple misunderstanding. I am doing my very best to keep up. Your child has made a very big decision within a very short space of time.
Well, how is Ro today?
Well, I'm afraid she has been refusing to focus on her studies.
His studies?
Ignored him. Sorry, they weren't engaging.
No, I'm afraid not. It's completely understandable that they're distracted at school with everything going on. Perhaps a bit more one-on-one time in my SBU might help Ro communicate.
Yeah, anyway, so the parents very much decide that they were wrong, and they were probably just not open-minded enough. And I think it's interesting with the trans woman how when he threatens the teacher with violence, basically, it's it shows even more how male he is.
Right. So feminine.
It very much feels like
ridiculous.
the TV show is trying to push the agenda, doesn't it? And then you kind of wonder, what do all these actors actually think? Like, do these older people actually buy into this? Because what do you do if some of these actors have been in a show for like a decade and then they have to play this part and they very much disagree with it? But I'm guessing they're probably on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, if the actors in the UK or anything like they are in the US, then it's very likely. It's very likely that they just go along with it. Even if they don't fully believe it, they'll probably just go along with it.
If
if you could just try and understand what I was going through. I had to get away. I was all alone and I was trying to deal with...
With what? I was knee-deep in nappies while you were off buying polycotton blouses. You were fine.
Funny. Really? Do you think it's easy going through this kind of change? That I enjoyed being called names and being laughed at by people? Families moving tables in restaurants? Teenagers calling me names? Being told I can't use the ladies' bathroom? Adults sniggering? And children pointing? None of this is fine.
Yeah, so for context, the storyline is that so the trans woman basically fathered a child with the other woman, and their child is now like 30 or something. And then he returns to the town as a woman now, like years and years later, and then wants to have a relationship with the son. And obviously in this clip, it's the sympathy is very much on the man rather than the mother who had her husband walk out on her to become a woman.
Yeah. It's hard to have any sympathy for that character, the male. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And all I can think of is sort of finishing the male sentence like, you know how difficult this was to want to, be not a gynophilic man and get a sexual kick out of dressing as a woman. Do you know how difficult that is? I mean, that's doing anything other than laughing at it is, I don't know.
And that, the story of his plight, one of the points was not being able to go into the female bathroom. And then he started crying at that point.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Right. Yeah, what the...
And I don't watch this series, but I just found these clips, obviously. And what ends up happening is the woman, they end up getting married again.
Oh, my God.
Which is crazy.
What's wrong, Tony?
Rose has told us that he is a boy. Well, Sally, I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old were you when you know?
Well, certainly at about 4 or 5, I remember being told off for only playing with the girls in the nursery. But it was years before I told anyone. It wasn't so understood back then.
Well, that's just it. What if Rose is just following a trend?
What, because being trans is easy? The world might have progressed, but not everyone has. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of love and support out there. But it takes a lot of courage to admit that you're not the person that everyone else thinks you are.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Again, it's just so absurd that it's just hard to take any of it seriously. I mean, I know that people do, and I think that, again, they're on the right side of history. This is just the new gay rights movement, and so they have to think it. But yeah, it's just like how far do you really have to stretch your imagination to take that seriously? I mean, even before I was well informed about any of this stuff, I would still just think like, well, what is going on? Like, what are these people talking about? It's just absurd.
Yeah, and
so most people have to have that in the back of their mind, right?
You would hope so, but I do think a lot of people that just don't think about it much think it's something similar to do with being gay. And I think even being gay myself, you're kind of gaslit by the community too, because a lot of gay people, even sometimes now, still kind of grow up without many friends because, they aren't really like other guys or other girls. But then they might move to a city and then kind of find more gay people. But it kind of comes as a whole package, like you have to buy into the whole thing. So it's quite a cruel thing for gay people, like for young gay people in that way, because some of them have spent a long time being isolated and then they're kind of indoctrinated into this idea. And then suddenly all of their friendships sort of rely on this idea and not questioning it. Like it's really not a great experience, I think, for young homosexuals now being able to just kind of be themselves in that way, because it's all very dogmatic.
Right. Yeah, that's when it becomes like a political identity and you play identity politics rather than it just being who you are. and not needing to be something that's like in, you know, yeah, it's really just identity politics, I think, at that point.
I should download these clips because they obviously won't age
And
well.
I think,
But it's
yeah,
funny because I said before that you know, if someone told you this was actually a critique on trans and it was in the future, you could believe it. But they actually managed to hit on so many of the points. They managed to hit on like the autogynephilic abuse towards your spouse and gaslighting, you know, the indoctrination, the threats, the ideology, and the child transition, but then also how this autogynephile is using the concept of the trans child to validate his own identity, which is why I think, and there's evidence for this, you know, that this is why the trans child was created, because of these autogynephilic men wanting to prove that, you know, we were actually born like this.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. Yeah, you're right. You could just maybe change the music slightly and turn it into almost like a horror movie or something with these little clips.
Well, we're going to have this video, so someone check back on this in 20 years as some sort of a relic.